Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well. Where are we today? Well, it all depends on what date it is today. Today, as I am recording this right now at around 9:30 in the morning, it is once again Friday the 13th. We are on 13th Avenue. Who would have guessed that? Now, we'll talk about the Friday the 13th in 2026. This is now the second one. And I say that in a way because that means there's another one coming. 2026 has 3 Friday the 13ths. Now, the first Friday the 13th, last month, I took you guys along Voorhees Avenue. If you guys don't know why I did that, well, if you are a Friday the 13th fan, you would know that the main character, obviously Jason, his last name is Voorhees. So last month, I did a nice little Friday the 13th themed walk by starting on East 13th Street on Voorhees Avenue, and we walked Voorhees Avenue down to the lighthouse, and then we came back along Emmons Avenue in Sheepshead Bay. So you could go back in my channel and check that out. That was just a month ago, and now here we are again. So this is the second Friday the 13th. We'll be doing 13th Avenue complete, the whole distance of Friday, listen to me, the whole distance of Friday the 13th, the whole distance of 13th Avenue, which ends somewhere around like 36th Street or whatever, right up to Day Hill Road. So that does mean we are going to be walking into Borough Park again. We were just in Borough Park last Friday when we did Kensington. We walked through Borough Park and into Bensonhurst. Here is a library. I used to hang out in this library a lot when I was going to school right up the block. Right up the block, I was going to Dyker Heights Junior High School, and I used to come in here after school sometimes if we had to do like book reports. That was before the internet, okay? For you young people, we couldn't use the internet. There was no internet. You had to use encyclopedias. What are those? I'm Generation X, so we ended up building the internet. We were the generation that built the internet. So a lot of young people think like people that were born in the 70s and early 80s don't know anything about the internet. We built it. I literally was part of building it. I was an engineer for over 20 years in the tech industry. I've definitely installed my big share of routers and switches and servers and any kind of machine you could think of. Speaking of, there goes Dyker Heights Junior High School. But yeah, back in those days, I mean, we had computers. We were just getting into computers. I had a Commodore 64. We ran a bulletin board system. That was what people used to communicate and get in touch with everybody. Before there was internet, we used to use phone lines and dial-in and all that other stuff. But as you know, technology has advanced quite fast. in the last 40 years. I mean, I remember when there wasn't even CD-ROMs. I mean, you guys probably never even seen them. Like, that's a technology that pretty much skipped a generation. I mean, there's people that never even use those on either end. So anyway, here we are, 13th Avenue. Looks like something's going on over here. Looks like they're going to be tearing that house down. I'm going to put one of these partitions around it that you see on my left here. There's La Bella Marketplace. And then over here you got Meat Supreme. We're gonna be passing by Crispy Pizza. There goes the funeral home, which by the way, the clock up there is reading 38 degrees. It's almost correct. It is 40 degrees, the official temperature. Here goes the pork store. B&A is still around. Yeah, it is definitely not 80 degrees. We hit on the last walk that you guys watched. While I was doing that walk was 72 around. But it ended up going up to 80 degrees that day. We hit a record high. That was also, they said it was the soonest we've ever hit 80 degrees in March. And now we're right back to reality. Because this is actually the normal temperature this time of year. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but it officially is still winter until next week. So, and the normal temperature for this time of year is around 48 degrees. And that's what the temperature is going to go up to today. We're supposed to hit a high of 48 today. I'm going to stop right here because this light's going to change. See, the mailman's having a conversation with somebody over there. All right, here we go. We just crossed 77th Street. Thursday's Child on Friday the 13th. You know, if you guys saw that guy that just came out of Dunkin', that's the second time we passed that guy. He was in front of Tasty Pastry. He got in his car, I guess, went over to Dunkin', and we just saw him a second time. It was like deja vu. So Friday the 13th, is it as an unlucky day as everybody believes? I think the percentage of people that have the fear of Friday the 13th is like 13%. I actually looked up these numbers. I don't know why. Useless numbers, but about 13% of the population is afraid of the number 13. But in some cultures, 13 is a lucky number, and Friday the 13th is a lucky day. So I guess it really depends on what you're how you're feeling, I guess, right? If I didn't mention it, we are in the Dyker Heights section of Brooklyn. This is my home base neighborhood. This is where I grew up for most of my life and still live. I started out in the Sunset Park section during the rough 70s and 80s crime wave years of NYC. A lot of these streets need to get a nice clean. It's still that time of year where, you know, we just had a lot of snow. We just had a lot of snow melt. And then it got really warm really fast. So there's still a lot of street cleaning that's got to get done. It'll get done, definitely in this neighborhood, but you can tell some people just, nobody really cares right now. That's the one thing about the winter here in New York that really could be bad sometimes, is when it snows. After everything melts is when you get the most garbage complaints in the city, because a lot of the snow melts away and there's stuff that was laying on the sidewalks and streets for a while and collecting, and the first thing people do is not come out and clean. They want to just enjoy the warm weather first. This is Crispy Pizza over here. Looks like they're getting their flour delivery. Super Fresh Supermarket. Super Fresh Supermarket. Located over here on 70th Street. It's been different supermarkets over the years. I think it was Key Food last. I could be wrong, but I mean, you get the point. There's always, you know, these type of buildings, they always have a supermarket. You know, one goes out of business, another one picks it up and just takes the space and puts their own name on it. But Soon we will be in Borough Park. You guys know the drill. As soon as we cross New Utrecht Avenue, the train tracks, the traffic, I mean, it is a Friday, so it is a weekday, so you could expect possibly a lot of school buses. Remember the walk we did last Friday? Right, so a lot of school buses, a lot of traffic, a lot of horn beeping. We'll see if we always have this little game we play whenever I go through Borough Park to see how long it takes once we get into Borough Park before we hear the first horn. Right, so we'll see. Now, I remember, I think it was like a year ago or something, at one point we were walking through Borough Park and I was very surprised. I think we had been walking for like 15 minutes before we heard our first horn, and it was right on cue. I had started to say, I can't remember what walk it was, but I said, guys, you know, it's been like 15 minutes and we haven't heard a car horn. And then right as I said that, the first horn went off, and from that point it was like a lot of car horns and truck horns and stuff. So traffic is always really bad in Borough Park. So we still got a ways though before we get into the neighborhood. Borough Park officially, the actual neighborhood officially starts around 60th Street, so but I mean, when you're on 13th Avenue, everybody knows, like, it's really once you get past the train tracks. As far as, you know, like when you really start to see everything change over. It looks like we're going to stay on one side of the street. I'm going to stay on this side for the entire length. It's the sunny side. Got the best light. Straight up walk. If you notice, I'm not really panning the camera a lot. This is what I like to call vintage Stride Warrior footage, because my early days when I started doing this on YouTube, I say on YouTube because I was doing walks live on Justin TV and Twitch back in the day, but before I got onto YouTube, I would just keep the camera straight and I would only turn the camera down the side streets. Oh, guys, there is a funeral going on here, and they got bagpipes. So, you're going to hear the bagpipes. This is 65th Street. Well, it's not bagpipes. Sounds like bagpipes, but it's not bagpipes. It's an Asian funeral mass. This is our newest school, one of our newest schools in Brooklyn. Very nice looking building, brand new. They just finished it last year. We walked by this a couple of times while they were building it. Used to be all homes on this block. They knocked down a lot of homes to put this school. I mean, because remember, this school, it goes up the block as well. So they had to knock down a lot of stuff down here, huh? Just to get this school going. This right here is Tabor Court. It's basically a private dead-end street. It's not really private in the sense that I could walk down it if I wanted, but it is private when it comes to parking traffic. I mean, most of the, pretty much, not most, but all those cars are probably all people that live in that, on that street. We are going to be crossing over the railroad track. You see a lot of trash over here. And this is another problem we have here in all the boroughs, not just Brooklyn, but everywhere. You get these, we call these like dead zones. And the reason we call them dead zones, there's really nothing over here on this block. It's just an overpass. And you get like, you get those high IQ people that just decide to drop their home trash on the side. Like, I never got that. Like, just put it out in front of your house. It's like, I don't know if there's any special like arrangement where that's where the truck has to pick up the garbage. But I highly doubt that. But you'll see that. You'll see people carry their trash. That's another thing. I always used to laugh. When you go down to like 86th Street, I'm going to be talking a little loud because of this truck. But when you go down to like 86th Street, some of the residents that live on those Bay streets, they'll carry a trash bag with them on the way to the train and dump it in the corner, on the corner trash cans, which you're not allowed to do, actually. You're not allowed to put your home trash in these trash cans that you see here on the corner. And I'll always wonder, I'll say to myself, well, you're doing all that extra work just to throw out your trash. You just throw it in your own trash can. We are in Borough Park now, guys. Crossing 60th Street. The train tracks are up ahead, the elevated train tracks of the D line. When we get over to New Utrecht Avenue as across, I got a little special announcement I'm going to make for our channel members. If you are a channel member, you guys are going to get to see something interest in on my next video. I'm gonna actually only make it for members. I'll get more into that in a couple of blocks. I'm not gonna walk through the tent because you get this young lady who is, looks like she's working and getting stuff put in the tent, so I don't want to get in her way. Looks like a clothing store. I think this is St. Florian Church. Sometimes I get this, I don't know why, sometimes I get kind of like turned around and I call it St. Francis because you see the F, the saint, and you just immediately jump to St. Francis. But I think this is St. Florian, this church. I'll give you guys a look when we get around the corner here. We'll see if I'm right. I'm probably not right. It says St. Francis de Chantal. So I did have it right the other way. And that's John Paul, Pope John Paul II, right? So I said St. Florian, I was wrong, but that was the, if you roll back, that was the little statue that was in the front of the church when we first started walking by. That was a little statue of St. Florian. Okay guys, from this point on, let's see how long it takes to hear our first car horn, okay? I think we just heard one, but I'm not going to count it because I was talking over it. This is 56th Street. So, if that was a car horn I was talking over, we ain't going to count that one. So we'll start now, right here, at 56th Street. There you go. There goes one. That's it. That was it. That's all it took, guys. There goes another one. Do you want to start the clock over and do it again? Maybe we'll start it from New Utrecht Avenue. So anyway, I want to thank all of the channel members. We don't have a lot of channel members because I don't advertise it enough, but I'm going to start talking about that more. We have about 7 channel members. And I want to thank the channel members. They help support the channel. The channel continues to grow, and it is getting to a point where it is going to now start costing me money to run this channel. I ain't going to lie. I've been doing this for free for what? Almost 3 years. We're about to hit the 3-year mark. So if you guys want to help the channel out and become a channel member, you can hit the join button on the home page or at any point that you're watching a video. And I only have one tier, and that's the way it's going to stay, $4.99. You could either do like a 1 month, or you could do recurring payments. It's up to you to help the channel out. I'll tell you, most of my members, pretty much all my members, do recurring payments. So I want to thank everybody. They don't just do 1 month. They have been supporting the channel now for a number of months. But anyway, the reason why I'm bringing this up is I'm going to be coming back on New Utrecht Avenue, and we're going to be doing a different point of view camera. So you guys will have to stay tuned for that. I'll eventually upload it, probably the same, maybe the night of Saturday the 14th, or in the afternoon, or whatever. It's going to be, we're going to be walking down New Utrecht Avenue, but I'm going to do something a little different. I will just give you one heads up, there will be no commentary on that walk. But stay tuned for that, for the channel members only. We're on 53rd Street. Friday the 13th, 13th Avenue. That's how we're rolling. Now, if you guys, I had said earlier, there's 3 Friday the 13th this year. We've had 2 of them. The next one is going to be in November. So November is going to be the last one. And if you're wondering about if this is a rare thing, I said rear as in rear end, but if this is a rare thing, it is. The next time we will have a year with 3 Friday the 13th will not be, I think, until 2037. So it happens every, I guess, 10 or 11 years. I don't know what the interval is. But we had 2 back-to-back, February and March. And we still got one more on November 13th. That's 8 months away. As you can see, the busyness has really picked up. As soon as we got past New Utrecht Avenue, a lot more people on the street. Traffic. One-way traffic now, by the way, on 13th Avenue beyond New Utrecht Avenue. I'll give you guys a little history. Back in the day, it wasn't always one way. It was a 2-way street when I was a kid. Eventually what happened, I don't know, sometime in the late 90s probably. I say that because when I was in the military, I remember when I came home, it changed. But at some point, they turned 13th and 14th Avenue into one-way avenues, one-way streets, because of the amount of traffic, because of deliveries. As you'll see on the next corner, there's some trucks that are parked for deliveries, but they get a lot of, this neighborhood gets a lot of deliveries. And of course, you got to make room for the school buses, right? So what they did was they made 13th and 14th Avenue one way, so there wouldn't be gridlock all the time. Because back in the day, what would happen is you'd have the traffic on the other side where those trucks are now, and you just have traffic jams down here. Now, they still have traffic jams down here, even with the one-way traffic patterns on 13th and 14th Avenue. So, but it's not as bad now. So. But I have to be honest, it's not crazy with the car horns like we normally experience. It's been pretty tame so far since we've been walking. down here. Somebody's having a pizza party. Look at that. You see, that whole van is being filled up with pizza. Probably for the schools. I bet you it's going to a school. Absolutely, probably going to school. Well, the walk light went red, but it hasn't turned green for the cars yet, so I went across. Now, this is something here, a big toy store over here, by the way. Now, if you're wondering why I know Borough Park so well, it's because I actually lived here for a very short period of time in between Sunset Park and Dyker Heights for about a year. I lived on 41st Street between 12th and 13th Avenue. And we'll be walking by that in a second. Well, not in a second, but in a few blocks. We're on 46th Street now, but there used to be a Carvel on the corner. That Carvel is long gone, but we had a video store called Crazy Mary's down here. We had our computer store. It was called the Computer Store. It was when computers started becoming the thing. You would actually go to a store and buy, video games and software. Who would have thought of that, right? Nowadays, they don't even want you to buy the software. They want you to do everything subscription. Everything is subscription based now. Another thing the young generation will never experience. Let me tell you, I've been playing video games since 1977. 1976. When I was 2 years old, my father bought the Pong console for the television. And there's even a picture of me and my sister playing Pong, sitting on the couch. But I grew up in what I like to call the Space Invaders Pac-Man era, or you could even say Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong was my game. I mean, I started out with Space Invaders, but I play the hell out of Donkey Kong. I probably broke a couple of records that nobody knows about. I actually broke the ColecoVision game version. When you get to like 430,000 points, the game just freezes. So, but anyway, what I wanted to do is just stop because this guy was like walking right up behind me, and not that I was afraid of him. All I heard was like shoes behind my head for like the last 5 minutes. But all I was gonna say was, back in the day when you bought a video game, it came in a box, and you had like a really big book that came with the game, and you could read about everything on how to play the game and all the secrets and all that stuff. I don't know if you guys remember, there used to be those video game guides. You used to go like to a bookstore or a magazine shop, and they would have like magazines, like video game magazines. I don't know if they still do the magazines though. Now when you buy a game, we all know you download it off of Steam, and if you want to know something about the game, what you got to do, you got to go online, and hopefully the game has a wiki. And if it doesn't have a wiki, you got to watch YouTube videos. So that's how it is today. I am going to connect my battery pack a little right here. Here we go. You got the library here on 43rd Street. Right up the block over there. Can't really see it that well, but it's still here. I still have 20% on the battery, but I wanted to just make sure and just connect the battery just in case. This is the only, guys, this is the only neighborhood that you'll find people walking faster than me. I'm just gonna tell you that right now. This used to be C-Town back in the day. This is where my mother would shop back in the old days. C-Town, I think it was like a C-Town or a Met. There was also a C-Town up on New Utrecht Avenue, which got knocked down and is now that big apartment building over there on New Utrecht Avenue. When the train turns, there's actually the other big building used to be a parking lot. It's a lot, it looks way different. This right here used to be small one-story shops. There used to be a guitar lessons place right here on the corner. This is where I was telling you I used to live on this block for a year. That corner place that says, I guess it says Junie, that used to be a Carvel right there. I used to live on this block right here, 41st Street. Halfway up the block. I'll show you guys where the video store used to be, Crazy Mary's. Crazy Mary's used to be right over there, right where the brick, see that brick facade? It still looks the same. The building is really still the same looking. They haven't really done anything with it. But that's what Crazy Mary's used to be, the video store. Now it says 40th Street Discount Store. There also used to be a poultry and butcher shop over here on 39th Street, I remember, when I was very young. Before, I wasn't living here, but my father would come down here to get poultry. He used to come down from Sunset Park and he used to take me, and it was like over here on the corner somewhere. And as a kid, I used to have to watch. They would whack the chicken's head off right in front of you. That's how they did it back in the days. They still do it in some places in the city here. I know that in Brooklyn, here in Brooklyn, they have that poultry shop on New Utrecht Avenue. We are on 39th Street. And we are almost done with the walk here, guys. See that building all the way ahead up there? That is where we're going to be ending it. So I want to thank everybody for tagging along on this one. 13th Avenue on Friday the 13th. And yes, it got cold again. It's not 80 degrees. And it's gonna warm up again a little bit, and then next week, it's going to be cold for a couple of days. Next week's temperatures are going to be in the 20s overnight, just for a couple of days. I think it's just St. Patrick's Day and Wednesday, which happens to be my birthday. It's going to be two of the coldest days in March. And then it'll get right back up to normal after that. So, and that's the thing about March. That's what happens in March. You have these competing air masses back and forth, fighting for supremacy. Winter wants to hang on, spring wants to take over. So it's going to be back and forth for a while, until about April. April is when the temperatures will finally start, stabilizing and stuff. Here we are. This is 36th Street. This is the Kensington section of Brooklyn we're moving into if we continue walking here. But I want to thank everybody for tagging along. And I will catch you all on the next walk, wherever that's going to be. So for those of you, take care. Bye-bye and have a great day. And that's that. Bye-bye.